Good Friday afternoon to you. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Browns getting ready for a big one against the Ravens. Sunday, 1 o'clock over at First Energy Stadium. A little later in the show, we will be joined by Spencer Schultz of the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast. He'll give us a little bit of perspective about the Ravens and what they're going through. We'll also hear from some of the Ravens talking about the Browns. But we begin by talking about the Browns. Browns coming out of that bye week, 6-6 on the season. Really need this win against the Baltimore Ravens coming up on Sunday. Myles Garrett was asked about the team's focus. Is it strong enough as they head into that Ravens game?
Not as much as I wanted to, but we still got another 2 days. Guys will sharpen up, and we got leaders on the team who will make them get prepared and get ready for Sunday, because it's not end-all, be-all today. But when the time comes, you need everybody on their P's and Q's and ready, because it's a want to go home right now.
Is that somewhat disappointing, though, that it wasn't?
I mean, I'm not going to sulk or sing my head. I mean, guys go about things differently. And, it's not only on, us as players, it's coaches, it's everyone, having a focus on the task at hand. And I think we all have to look in the mirror and say, obviously, if we don't win this one, there won't be any postseason for us. So we just gotta come together tomorrow, today, in meetings, and get right. Like I said, we still got another 48 plus hours.
So welcome in Hayden Grove, a reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. And Hayden, I follow that. I file that one under the category of let's say everything and make sure everybody knows exactly where we stand on this for Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually, Kevin Stefanski and Myles Garrett were talking at the same time, so I was over at Kevin Stefanski and I didn't see that live. I think it's a little bit of Myles he's done it before. He's called his teammates out before this year, and they've responded. So maybe that's just a way for him to kind of, say, hey, let's go. I think, Myles obviously holds himself to a very, very high standard, and maybe it's that he wants everybody else to be up to his standard. And that's a good thing, because Myles is a hell of a player and maybe the defensive player of the year to this point. So if Myles wants to be up to his level, everybody up on his level, then I like it. I have no problem with what he said. He's right, though. They have time. They have 48 hours, and that'll be go time on Sunday. So I think it's a good move by a leader to say what he needs to say and make sure his teammates are up to par and ready to go.
Yep. Make sure you know the seriousness of this game for the Browns. All right. Some news and notes from out in Berea. Injury update: Ronnie Harrison, Jordan Elliott, Malik Jackson listed as questionable for Sunday's game. Greg Newsome now questionable as well for Sunday. Fell and hit his head last play of practice, being evaluated for a concussion. They have not said whether that has been a concussion or not, but now questionable for that game. Harrison Bryant, Anthony Schwartz, David Njoku, Jamie Gillen, Anthony Walker on the COVID list. They are expected to miss the game. They will be out. So plenty of news and notes and guys that are not available. The Browns did sign a punter. Dustin Colquitt has punted 23 times, 6 games for the Falcons. 47.7 yards is his average per kick, significantly better than Jamie Gillen, who had a 43.9 average. Gillen now on that COVID-restricted list. That deals with the news and notes. Kevin Stefanski talked about potentially using Jacob Phillips as the middle linebacker for this game. Phillips, activated off of IR, has practiced with the team. Here's what Kevin Stefanski had to say about Jacob Phillips, the linebacker.
Yeah, I think whether he makes it back this week or next week, in that first game back, we have to be mindful of that he hasn't played football in a minute here. But he had a good week of practice. I will say this about Jacob. He's been in every single meeting. He's been at every single walkthrough. He's come on the road with us. So he's very indoctrinated to what we're doing, and that's a testament to how hard he's worked.
And when you think about Hayden, with Anthony Walker out, there's a little bit of a need at linebacker position. This is a Ravens team that always kind of makes you concerned with your front seven because of Lamar Jackson in that run game.
Yeah, I do want to go back. They did rule Greg Newsome out for this game. They did that within the last 15 or so minutes. So Greg Newsome out for this game, which is definitely difficult. But yeah, I mean, again, this whole defense is kind of in a weird spot, and with Jacob Phillips, it's great that he's able to come back. They would love to have him. He has speed. Anthony Walker not playing, obviously, that they would like to have a little bit of Jacob Phillips in there. I think it'll probably be more Malcolm Smith, again, a guy that goes kind of slept on, but he's always in the right spot. He's always making plays, always making the right tackle, at the right spot. He's a guy that's played really, really well this year. There's a reason they brought him back on the 1-year deal. So I don't think there's an incredible drop off between what Walker gives you and what Malcolm Smith gives you, because maybe Malcolm Smith is not as mobile, not as agile, not as fast as a guy like Walker, but again, he knows where to be. So we'll see.
Well, and Greg Newsome, again, being ruled out, as you just mentioned, within the last few minutes. That's a big loss, because you've got Marquise Brown, you've got Sammy Watkins, and you always have Lamar Jackson, who likes to extend plays and throw deep.
That's right. Lamar Jackson is probably the best in the league, if not one of the best in the league in terms of extending plays. Patrick Mahomes does a great job as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously having Greg Newsome out is going to hurt. He played really well against Hollywood Brown, but I think in a game like this, I think it's more so a defense by committee. Everybody's got to do their job. Greg Newsome is just one part of that puzzle. Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett got to do their job. Defensive line as a whole has to do its job. Linebackers have to do their job. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah being a big part of that. Greedy Williams got to do his job. I mean, everybody has to do their job. Denzel Ward, Troy Hill. It's everyone. It takes 11. So yes, Greg Newsome is a blow for sure, but not, I don't think it's a knockout blow by any stretch, because they do have a lot of players who can still, step up and get the job done against Lamar.
Yeah, fair enough. So the Browns also will be down 2 tight ends. They like that 3 tight end set. 2 of them out. David Njoku not going to play. Harrison Bryant not going to play. Kevin Stefanski talked about adjusting to not having 2 of those 3 tight ends.
Yeah, you lose David, you lose Harrison from the last game we just played, so you got to pivot and you have to adjust. Bringing Miller up, like we talked about the other day, he's somebody that we trust. He's done a nice job at practice. He knows what to do. And then we got to find the right personnel groupings and put guys in position. But ultimately how it all shakes out in terms of personnel, we'll see by Sunday. And
they may use 2 tight ends. They may use 1 tight end. It's going to force a change in the scheme and how often and how, quite frankly, how reliant they are on the tight end.
It actually might help them. As much as the Browns love their tight ends, I think it hamstrings them in a lot of ways, because for the modern NFL is a kind of a wide open. It's not this old school style of the Browns play. So maybe having a little more reliance on the wide receivers, maybe having a little more, opening the offense up a little bit might help them. I mean, Austin Hooper is definitely not the most athletic guy. He can obviously catch the football and is a good blocker. But, now without your athletic tight ends and David Njoku and Harrison Bryant, you're going to have to do something different. So maybe this is an opportunity to get Kareem Hunt and more involved in the pass game. Maybe this is an opportunity to get, the right receivers, Hollywood Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones more involved in the pass game. So I think this could end up being a good thing for the Browns in terms of, they love their 13 personnel, and I understand it, but maybe, the offense has been broken for the last month, and maybe this is a good step to say, hey, all right, we're going to try something different because we need to. And it's now with our guys out, we have to do something different. So we'll see how it ends up planning out, but I'm excited to see what they can do differently against Baltimore this time around.
I would agree. It's what they did last time did not work, obviously. 10 points isn't going to get it done most games. Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll continue talking Browns, Ravens. Myles Garrett, we'll talk about facing Lamar Jackson. We'll also take a look at a couple of the Browns. My cleats, my cause, the shoes that they will be wearing to support various causes. Straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns, getting ready for the Ravens. First Energy Stadium, Sunday at 1 o'clock. Ravens 8-4, Browns 6-6. Obviously a game the Browns need desperately if they plan on making the playoffs. Myles Garrett talked about facing Lamar Jackson and the success the Browns had against him when they played last time a couple weeks ago.
It's really on us up front. We have to cancel out Lamar's scramble game and extending plays, getting out the pocket. And that's the challenge that we face every time we're going against a dynamic quarterback, especially someone like him. So it's not just us as ends, it's us as rushers and not having a good rush plan. We're able to get some pressure on him, get him moving, but not going upfield. We prevented him from doing exactly what he wants, being comfortable. And I think that was the toughest thing for him. Not always having his go-to in 89, who's a hell of a player. But trying to put pressure on him and trying to take away that first read, I think they gave him a little trouble.
And Hayden Grove, I thought the game plan they had and the way they executed it against Lamar Jackson last time, outstanding. I thought Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney pressured him. 4 interceptions, and then it didn't work because the offense didn't get it done.
Yeah, they were pretty perfect defensively last game. They forced Lamar into doing exactly what they wanted him to do. Defenses have kind of been able to find a way to stop him as of late, make him throw interceptions. The Browns have done that. So I'm assuming there's going to be a little more, there's going to be some differences in what the Ravens do and how they want to run things. But at the end of the day, also, I think the Browns got to be very similar in how they play defensively. Got to contain Lamar. I think, maybe this is the game that they can finally kind of get to Lamar as opposed to just, touching him or being so close as they were against him last time. So if you take away a 1 long throw or 2 long throws to Mark Jackson, he was held essentially to nothing. So they got to continue to do that, continue to, find that game plan again, find a way to, to match those little wrinkles that are going to be thrown at them this time. And, I think that they have a good chance of doing the same thing to Lamar once again.
I would agree, yeah. Mark Andrews at tight end is he and Marquise Brown are Lamar Jackson's security blanket, if you will. My Cleats, My Cause is it allows players to wear cleats that reflect various social causes. So we're going to take a look at some of the ones that the Browns players are going to be wearing. Kareem Hunt and Greg Newsome was scheduled to wear this Build a Bridge, and that connects high school football teams of different racial and socioeconomical demographic backgrounds in meaningful ways. It was founded by Max Stevens, the head football coach over at Cleveland Heights, along with Clark Hicks, one of his assistants, and Kareem Hunt will be wearing that to support that cause. Myles Garrett, we know that he does a lot of work overseas. He's doing this for the Mission of Hope in Haiti. And then Joel Bitonio will be sporting the American Heart Association cleats. And Hayden, this is one of the things I really like. There are strict guidelines as to what NFL players can wear as far as their cleats, as far as their pants, as far as their socks even. So when they allow players to do this, it's always fascinating, and I think it's always interesting to see which of the causes the players align themselves with.
Yeah, it's a great way for, NFL players to kind of show what they're passionate about on the field as well, what they're passionate about off the field, on the field. So it's a really cool thing to see so many foundations and so many causes being supported, so much money going to places in need, people in need, organizations in need. So kudos to the Browns and to everybody in the NFL who is, who's supporting these places and these things that need to be supported. So always love to see players expressing themselves, who they are, what they're about, and this is a great opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of them have backstories as to why they support those causes. So again, just pay attention to the shoes when you see them. That's the reason they are different than they normally are. So Kevin Stefanski talked about the Ravens, and really they didn't adjust to the Browns' 3 wide receiver sets the way they normally do. Here's Kevin Stefanski on what the Browns saw from that Ravens defense when they were in 3 wides.
A lot of teams have done that, played base to 11 personnel, so that's not something that was unique to what we've seen. It was unique to what they've done in the past. It was quite a bit of snaps that they had not done that, so that was something they chose to do in that game. Will they do it again this game? Remains to be seen. So I think it just speaks to the punch, counter punch of all of these games are unique.
And again, they did this, you're going to do that, and we'll see more of that coming up Sunday. And who is able to react best? Usually the one that wins the football game.
Yeah, and I kind of disagree with Kevin Stefanski. I don't think it's just the back and forth. I just don't think the Ravens respect the Browns receivers. I don't think they respect the Browns passing game. And maybe with Marlon Humphrey out, that's different. But with him in, they didn't respect. They had no respect for the Browns passing game. They had no respect for the receivers to get open in man coverage. And that's why they didn't adjust when there were 3 wide receivers or 4 wide receivers out there. Again, that could be very different this week, just given that Marlon Humphreys is out and that's their main guy. But they didn't have respect for the Browns passing attack, and that's why they loaded the box with 8 or 9 guys, and the Browns didn't do a good enough a job adjusting to it, both in the run game and in the pass game. So. Obviously there were a couple of plays that were missed in terms of drops, or just weren't there for him in terms of the screen and when Baker dropped the ball. But they have to find a way to win those one-on-one matchups, because they can win easily. I mean, the Ravens are daring them to win. They're daring them to win those one-on-one matchups, and they're daring them to get open, and they didn't last game. This game, they might do something different, but you got to be prepared for it either way. And I think that last game kind of allowed them to be prepared for this one.
Yeah, and that's been a recurring theme. And let's couch this by saying Jarvis Landry has an MCL, that he's not 100%. He can't move like he normally does. DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, had a groin coming off of that. They got to get more separation. There wasn't a whole lot of places for Baker to throw, and there were 3 or 4 drops that were critical. And you can't beat a good team. You can't beat a playoff team when you can't throw the football.
That's correct. And I don't think Jarvis had a good game, and I think he was over 100 yards. And I'm not, that he's different. He's their only. I wouldn't say their only threat, but he's a guy that's going to find a way to catch the football, and he's one of their leaders, and I'm not worried about him. But guys like DPJ, he had such a strong training camp, he was looking great, and then maybe the groin still is bothering him, but didn't get much separation. They didn't find him much. Hollywood Higgins wasn't even active in the game. Anthony Schwartz out with the concussion. So where is the production going to come from? Who else is out there? That's why I'm saying get Kareem Hunt involved if you have to. Jamarcus Bradley, I mean. He's a practice squad guy. I mean, he's got talent, but I need the receivers. I need more from them, and they have to get the job done, or else they're not going to be able to throw the ball. And if they can't throw the ball, then you're right. Then they're not going to beat teams. So it's a little bit on everyone, and I want to see more from DPJ. I want to see more from Hollywood Higgins for sure.
I agree, and I want to see more of Kareem Hunt on the field, and I'd love to see Kareem Hunt on the field at the same time with Nick Chubb. And you have guys you can spell them with if you're worried about them being fresh. I think Dearness Johnson has earned a little bit of trust, and Felton can be effective as well.
Yeah, Felton might be one to consider as well. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been a pseudo wide receiver at times this year. I mean, he had a huge drop on a third down as well. That's one that we forget about. So that's three big drops I can count on or that I can, think of off the top of my head, with DPJ with a big drop towards the red zone, David Njoku with a big drop on the third down, that would have been a first down, and then another third down with Demetric Felton. So you're not going to be able to win games that way. I need more from the pass catchers. I do. I need more from the pass catchers.
Agree wholeheartedly. Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take a timeout. On the other side of the break, Skip Bayless will tell us what he needs to see from the Browns if they're going to be successful. We'll take a look at what Baker Mayfield has done against the Ravens historically. And Ryan Clark from ESPN's Get Up makes his predictions on the Browns-Ravens. We'll also have Hayden's and my prediction on the Browns. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions, lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns, getting ready for the Ravens Sunday 1 o'clock over at First Energy Stadium. Skip Bayless from FS1's Undisputed on what the Browns and Ravens game boils down to this weekend.
This is one of those games where you just have to go win this game, and it has to start with that little quarterback.
Yes.
And he's got to show some guts, not just to play through injury. He's got to make some plays down the stretch.
Yeah.
And you always say, well, where did he just disappear down another stretch?
Yeah.
You got to come clutch.
Yes.
And I'm going to show you again. I'm going to remind you. I thought he threw some nice passes when they were down 16-10 and did have the ball at the end of the game. And you said, well, what did he do? Nothing. Well, he did throw these two passes. Here's the first one to Jarvis, if we could see it. And I thought this was a legit good throw. That's just catchable. It's a back shoulder throw to Jarvis. He's got to catch that one. And then this is to Austin Hooper. I'm sorry, that's Jarvis. Yeah, here we go again. This is to Austin Hooper. And this is just a cold drop. He just hits him right in the hands, probably for a first down. Okay, so those two cost them. You can't do it this time. You have to get some help from your receivers, and you got to come big clutch in this game because Lamar has struggled.
And Hayden Grove, there's two things there. Baker Mayfield does have to play better. I'm concerned that Lamar Jackson has played not great the last 4 games because eventually that guy's going to figure it out and correct those ills that have been bothering him.
Yes and no. I don't, maybe there finally is maybe this blueprint that they've found, maybe this is it. I mean, maybe for this team this year, the blueprint is out and this is just not going to be Lamar's year. So, I mean, he's going to correct some things, but if you cover guys well enough and you get to him, he can't do anything else. He can't do more than you put in front of him. So I think the Browns did a great job last week, and I think they need to continue to do a great job this week. And, Baker, I think I agree with Skip in that, the throw to Jarvis Landry, the throw to Austin Hooper, another 2 drops. That's now 5 I can count on my hands. But it's like, Baker has had a couple weeks to get ready to recover. I mean, this is time. He's always been good with his back against the wall, no matter what the case may be. And right now his back is flat up against the wall. So it's time for him to show out. I mean, I believe that he can do it. I think that, he has every ability in the world to make every throw. He's just got to do it. And his teammates have to help him out because, again, that's unacceptable last week, the 5 drops. It can't happen.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take a look at this tweet. This kind of illustrates the Ravens have not been a team that he's played great against. At least 1 interception, 6 of his 7 career games. That exception was this year. And the Ravens have not intercepted a pass in 5 games this season, are on a pace to finish with 7 on the year, and they lost their best cornerback, Marlon Humphrey. So those all bode well. But I was a little stunned to see that, because you think of that game that they played against the Ravens last year where it went back and forth. I thought Baker played pretty well. I was surprised that he had thrown that many interceptions against the Ravens in his career.
Yeah, I think he's had some clunkers against Baltimore. If I can, look back a little, I think especially the one that stands out was his rookie year. I think it was late in the year. But again, I'm a believer in past stats, but Baker's not turned the. I mean, Baker's interceptions this year have not necessarily been high at all. You look at the interceptions he's thrown. I think I can remember each and every one of them. And yeah, there was some. The Lions game was not. Should have sat. You can't really tell him to sit because it was a bad team. He thought maybe momentum would carry him through, and playing a bad team like that would help him out. Did not play well, and kind of set this whole thing off. So I think he's got to get ready to play his best football. And you're right, Marlon Humphreys is out. They don't, they're not necessarily the best defensive team we've seen in terms of the passing offense. Or passing defense. So the Browns got to be ready to play. Baker Mayfield's got to be ready to play, and he's got to let it rip. I'm kind of done with him just kind of being so held in by this offense. Just let it go. Be the guy that, again, Browns fans know him to be.
All right. Comes to the time, how do you think this one plays out? What are some keys? Do you think the Browns get the win?
The key is to find a way to run the football. I mean, if they stack the box with 8 or 9 guys, you can figure out a way. Use the jet sweep. Use the screen. Do the wide receiver screens. Again, it's going to be a little bit of everything. And wide receiver screens only work if other wide receivers are blocking. And then you got to do everything right if they're going to do that. So Kevin Stefanski's got to find a way to get the run game going, no matter if it's Nick Chubb, no matter if it's Kareem Hunt, no matter if it's the wide receivers on jet screen, whatever it is. Get the run game going. Defensively, do the exact same thing that you did against Baltimore last week. I know it's easier said than done, but I think they played a damn good game against the Ravens, and I think that obviously a play here and a play there, it stinks, but Mark Andrews made 2 plays that changed that game. So you have to make the little play. You have to be the ones that win with those big plays. Find a way to make the play like Mark Andrews made, and then. Offensively, I just need to see something different from Stefanski. I need to see the wide receivers win, and and if they can't get it done, then this season I think is a wash. And I think we start to have conversations about the quarterback and the head coach. So I think they win. I think they pull through in this one. Their back's up against the wall. Baker Mayfield is historically good with his back up against the wall. They need it. Baltimore's not as good as they've been. And I think they're going to do everything in their power to get a win on Sunday.
Yeah, I do too. And I think they're going to come out to, and I don't think it's going to be quite to the level of the Bengals. I think they're going to have that type of game against the Ravens at First Energy Stadium. I expect Baker Mayfield to come out, the offense to look significantly better, the defense to play. I don't know if they can play as well as they did. 4 interceptions against Lamar and holding them to 16 points is tough, but I think they're going to play pretty well.
Well, it's not even about the interceptions. It's about just the way they kind of limited Lamar and limited the run game. I mean, again, if you take away the 2 plays to Andrews, Lamar did nothing. I don't need them to have the 4 interceptions. I don't think that's going to happen. If they could get 1 or 2, that'd be nice. But I think that just limiting him and making things life difficult on him, I think it's going to help. Maybe instead of 4 interceptions, maybe it's a couple fumbles this game. They haven't been able to force fumbles this year for whatever reason. So I just think if they have an opportunity to limit Lamar, they can figure out a way. They can do it.
Hayden Grove, reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Hayden, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right, Hayden Grove, make sure you read them. Pages of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll hear some of the Ravens' thoughts as they get ready for the Browns. Browns playing Ravens back-to-back weeks with a bye sandwiched right in between. We'll hear from that. We'll also hear from Lamar Jackson. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for buying a fishing license. I want you to picture all the great things this simple purchase does. Like building public boat ramps, keeping local waters clean, and maintaining a healthy fish population.
What's Mom doing?
When you buy a fishing license, you do a lot. Every dollar protects and maintains your local waterways for future generations to enjoy. Visit takemefishing.org.
Six and 6 Browns will host the 8-4 Baltimore Ravens, 1 o'clock, First Energy Stadium on Sunday. John Harbaugh, head coach of the Ravens, on the Browns, playing the Ravens twice in a row with a bye in between them, and the Ravens having to play the Steelers in between the two Browns games, and the Ravens being a little physically beat up as well.
Always challenges and difficulties that you have to deal with, whether it's schedule or whatever it is, so we just deal with it and play the game. We're playing the game, and we're getting ready to play the game. That's all we're thinking about.
Hey, John, on the outside looking in, it looks like your guys are up against a wall this week, but you've been through so many adverse conditions. How much can you draw on things that you've been through in the past? It looks like you might have them right where you want them right now.
Well, our guys are going to handle adversity well. That's something that you ask about the past. That's something that's proven. You know, that's something that is established. So we're just going to go play the game. And we have all the players that we need to do it. We have all the schemes. We have all the coaches. We have the people. I trust the people. I trust the work. And I'm looking forward to the game on Sunday.
And the Ravens have handled adversity well this year as well, banged up and finding a way to be 8-4 in a couple of games ahead of the pack in the AFC North. Ravens defensive coordinator Wink Martindale on the Ravens defense. Will it change its aggressive nature because of injuries, especially not having their best player, cornerback Marlon Humphrey, this game?
We're a defense that, you know, we talk about all the time that pressure breaks pipes. And, you know, offenses play us different than what they play others because of the style of defense that we play, that our guys enjoy playing. But when it doesn't work, it's, you know, that's the first thing that people ask. And I understand that you get paid for a reason. And I also understand that's why we have the greatest sport and professional sports in our country. And, you know, it's one of those things. There's been plenty of times we've won with zero pressure as well. So we're going to be who we are. And, you know, will we do things different? I think we do things different all the time. Are we going to play a different game plan than what we played against Cleveland the first time? You know, there's always punches and counter punches in a game. And that's what you'll see Sunday. And
that is Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator, talking about how banged up the Ravens' defense is and if it will change the way they play. Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions the last time they played the Browns. In the last 4 games that Jackson has played, he's thrown 8 picks, been sacked 17 times. Jackson talked about facing the Browns again and why he's still confident this Ravens offense will pull out of it and get things rolling.
I just watched film on him before a walkthrough, and that's over with. You know, it's a new week. You know, we playing them at their place this time. It's definitely gonna be different results, though. It ain't gonna be the same situation from when we played them at home.
Since the last time you played the Browns, you had to go and play the Steelers. The Browns had a bye week, so they're coming off a bye week. Do you think can that be a factor? Or do you think that's an unfair advantage? How much do you think that could be an unfair advantage?
I don't know. I doubt it. You know, it's NFL, man. You know, we can't make the schedules. We can't meet the bye weeks and stuff like that. We just got to go out there and play, and that's all I can do. Andrews, I got guys like Marquise Brown. You know, I got Bate, I got Sammy. I got all these guys, you know, who with me. Devontae Freeman, Latavius Murray. Got all these great guys who out there. Patrick Ricard, you know, who out there trying to win as well. It's not just me. So that's why I got all the confidence, my teammates.
How do you mentally kind of handle this stretch for you personally? Do you just kind of, hey, whatever, we're going to turn it around in a moment's notice, or how do you handle it?
Just like you said, we're going to turn it around, moment's notice, right away. You know, that's our goal, and it starts out here with practice. You know, we hit the ground running and doing what we're supposed to do, playing Ravens football, we'll be good.
Well, the Ravens' defense was really good the last time they played the Browns. Held the rushing attack of the Browns 40 yards on 17 carries. That was a couple of weeks ago. Defensive coordinator Wink Martindale not taking a victory lap, though. He has a lot of respect for the Browns' offense.
I respect this league when I say this. I think that combination of those two backs are the best two in the business. So we know that going into the game, and are there matchup problems? There always is when you're going against the best two backs and, you know, combined combination, and probably singular if they, you know, were on opposite teams. You know, I mean, they're both really good backs, so it's always a tough matchup.
I think it seems like, you know, like a lot of good offenses in this league, Cleveland uses that thread, the run, to help Baker with the play action. I guess especially in that last game, or I guess maybe over the course of the season, what have you seen from how they kind of use Baker just with the thread of that run?
Well, I mean, I think that's where he plays his best, is play action pass, where they can get him moving. And you know, he's had really good games, and he's had some average games. You know, I think he'll tell you that. But it's going to be a tough challenge, and you know, with the week off, I'm sure he's healthier. You know, with their bye week, and looking forward to this matchup as well.
Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens and Browns kick it off 1 o'clock Sunday, First Energy Stadium. Browns playoff hopes desperately need a win on Sunday. Well, each week, in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize role model students from all across Ohio. Today, we head out to Brecksville High School to meet Mallory McCrodden. Mallory, a freshman who has an interest in going to law school, is also a two-sport star. Mallory McCrodden, this week's Ohio Lottery Partners in Education Shining Star. High school can be a tough transition for some students, but Mallory McCrodden, a ninth grader at Brecksville High School, seems to have made that transition effortlessly, especially academically.
For freshmen to walk into my American legal system class without a whole lot of background in American government takes a lot of courage in the first place. And secondly, just her insights and her work ethic and diligence in the class is just second to none. And I've just been so impressed with her performance and her insights into the American legal system that I really hope and pray that she either becomes an attorney someday or that she gets involved in public service, because we could really use people like her in society.
I took it as like an elective because I'm interested in law, so it seemed interesting to me. It's challenging, but if you like know the material, it's easier to understand everything because it builds off of like simple stuff.
As a freshman, Mallory has plenty of time to decide what she'll pursue in the future, but her interest and passion in U.S. history and law are evident, and something that Mr. Brennan and her teachers plan to feed and develop.
Mallory, like the others in my class, have done a fine job with the presentations. They're presenting about a Supreme Court justice and their judicial philosophies. So once they're all done, we're going to start looking at cases before the U.S. Supreme Court And based on what the students have learned about the justices on the court, they're going to predict how they will rule in the cases that are coming before them.
We have like guest speakers come in and we can ask them because they have like experience in law. We had a judge come in from the federal courts and he like answered a lot of questions about the makeup of the court, and like he gave a couple of examples of the court, and like we get to see like in real life how people work in the court.
Out of the classroom, Mallory is part of the soccer program at Brecksville High School. She'll also play lacrosse in the spring, where she's working on developing her left hand as a midfielder.
You need to like be able to do both hands because it's like in some situations it's easier than using only your right hand.
With 3+ years of high school left before she heads off to college, Mallory McCrodden has plenty of time to grow and decide exactly what she wants to pursue in the future. But her drive and desire to be successful are already very evident.
I know that she could probably leave high school now and go on to college and be very successful. And I think her success as a freshman in high school proves that she could walk into just about any learning environment and be successful because she's got such a great attitude, she's so professional, and such a diligent individual.
If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com, find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star. All right, well done, Mallory McCrodden, our shining star. All right, we're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll head down south to Baltimore. We'll get Baltimore's perspective. Spencer Schultz from the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast will give us a little bit of the Ravens' perspective of things as they get ready for the Browns matchup, 1 o'clock Sunday, First Energy Stadium. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
Browns and Ravens getting ready to tee it up 1 o'clock Sunday at First Energy Stadium. Ravens 8-4 on the year, Browns 6-6. Let's welcome in Spencer Schultz from the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast. Spencer, as always, man, appreciate the time. Does the loss of Marlon Humphrey at all change the way the Ravens will play defense in this one?
Pleasure to be back. Thank you so much for having me on. Always a pleasure. Marlon Humphrey is a huge loss for the Ravens, absolutely. Does it affect the way that they are able to play defense or going to play defense? I'm going to say no, because they bring in corners that play press man. I think that we saw Chris Westry, a corner that's really getting his first experience in games consistently this season in Chicago, get asked to be put on an island and go make a play to win a game. He lost that play. And one could certainly argue that the Ravens would learn from that or want to learn from that, but I don't think that they do. They trust their guys. They trust this scheme. They have 6'4" corner like Chris Westry. They got another 6'3" corner, Jimmy Smith. Anthony Averett's a press corner. Tavon Young's a press corner. So these guys are going to go out and play the same defensive scheme. Next man up is their mentality. It has been all season. And they're going to ask these guys that they brought in specifically for press man coverage and to go win one-on-one to do exactly that. So I think that the Ravens will continue to keep on. Maybe there's a little bit more shaded safety help at times for sure, but I think that overall they're going to ask Westry and Young and Averett and Jimmy Smith to do what they've been doing and do what Marlon Humphrey was doing. And there's definitely going to be a little bit of a loss of talent there, and they're going to lose the spirit of Marlon Humphrey, absolutely, but the defense must carry onward.
Ravens did a great job with the Browns rushing game. Anyway, you slice it. 40 yards total, 17 carries. They loaded the box. Browns weren't able to really adjust to it. Do you expect, I mean, it worked, so would you expect a similar type of approach?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting chess match. It always is, these two divisional foes. are going to try and use what happened last game against one another. The Ravens fronts are going to probably have to change. I imagine that the Browns are going to try and placate off of the tendencies that the Ravens showed 2 weeks ago. They've had, 2 weeks essentially to be able to game plan that. Maybe they can add in some more counters, some more misdirection, throw in some built out alternate counters to what the Ravens did last time. And the Browns simply have to get Nick Chubb going with David Njoku out, with Harrison Bryant out, with Jarvis Landry banged up, no Anthony Schwartz. Browns are going to have to lean on Kareem Hunt and really Nick Chubb. And they're going to have to win that war of attrition at the line of scrimmage. J.C. Tretter also in question, Jack Conklin in question. The Ravens didn't have Calais Campbell the last time these two teams went at it. So maybe the Ravens do feel a little bit more confident to maybe go with 7-man boxes and a little more too high with Marlon Humphrey out. But again, they're going to stick to their guns. They're going to line up and make you beat them. So I think that we're going to see an absolute battle again. And the real key is making sure that the Ravens tackle in the open field, because that's where Nick Chubb will win or lose. Chuck Clark made an outstanding tackle on one of the few runs that Nick Chubb started to break along the left sideline late in the game 2 weeks ago. And if Nick Chubb, who is one of the most dynamic athletes in the entire world, let alone NFL, let alone football, is able to make plays, then it's going to be huge for Cleveland. It's going to open things up in their pass game, and that's going to be the battle.
For the Browns, if they want to make the playoffs, this is a must-win game. You can dance around it. They have to win this. I found it kind of interesting in listening to some of the John Harbaugh. It's the second time I've done that. The John Harbaugh press conference. Some of the Ravens media was asking if they felt like their back was against the wall. How are the Ravens approaching this one after the loss to the Steelers?
Yeah, absolutely. You said it was a must-win game for Cleveland. The playoffs start now for Cleveland. The Steelers lost a playoff game last night and are seeing themselves, slip to the back of the AFC pack in terms of teams that are contending for the playoffs. And the Ravens at this point are just hanging on by a thread. The injuries that have taken place, over $40 million on the injured reserve. The Browns are starting to catch that as well. So the Ravens are going to need to scrap and fight and claw. This is a divisional game. It's an AFC game. It's going to be very important for playoff standings and tiebreakers and things of that nature. And they also have the opportunity to kind of put a nail in the Browns a little bit. The Browns are going to have to win out. The Browns also have a very tough schedule. Everyone in the AFC North does. Of the 4 teams in the AFC North, the only team that played one single game against an opponent that had a losing record going into this week was the Steelers at the Viking. They lost. The Vikings are now 500. So the AFC North is a drag-out bloodbath right now, and the Ravens are going to have to pick themselves up, knowing that the Browns had a Ravens game in Baltimore. Then the NFL gifted them with a bye week, and now they're going to play Cleveland in Cleveland. So the Ravens need to try and use that to their advantage. Got to rally the troops, win one for the Gipper. They're against us. It's us against the world. And coming off of a real stretch of probably the worst offense that we've seen in the Lamar Jackson era out of this Baltimore Ravens offense, they've got to find a way to dig themselves out of it, and they have to do it now. They can't continue to slump. They've got to find a way to be able to win in Cleveland.
What do you think the keys are for the Ravens? You alluded to it with the run defense, but if you were drawing up a blueprint for the Ravens to be successful, given what again they're depleted, as are the Browns, what would those keys be?
Well, absolutely. I talked about the run. I think that's the battle on that side of the football for sure. And Greg Roman and the Ravens offense need to make Lamar Jackson confident. He's playing the worst football that he's played since he became a full-time starter and had a full offseason in 2019. He has no confidence in his offensive line right now. He is second-guessing himself. He's holding the ball too long. He's not getting the ball out quick enough at times. And other times he's firing interceptions like we saw in that 4-interception game against the Browns 2 weeks ago. So he's been a bit of a Goldilocks right now. He doesn't trust his pass protection. The scheme hasn't been working very well. Guys have been making mistakes in option routes. Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown are consistently running too close together and not spacing the field out enough and forcing Lamar Jackson to hesitate and second-guess himself. So in this one, I think a major key is the Ravens using 6, 7, and 8 or max protection and making Lamar Jackson comfortable. One formation or alignment that the Ravens have been successful out of and Lamar Jackson seems confident in is when the Ravens go empty and they use Latavius Murray or Devontae Freeman as a wing attached to the offensive line, and then Mark Andrews on the other side, so that those guys can chip or delay a Myles Garrett or a Jadeveon Clowney or a TJ Watt last week and make Lamar Jackson confident that he's going to have enough time to go through his reads. that is the key to the game for me on the offensive side of the football. And then, as said earlier, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are going to win or lose this game, what they're able to do and what that offensive line is able to do against a Ravens team that held them to their worst performance of the year and, really somewhat suppressed them and almost embarrassed them. So the Browns are definitely fired up about that one. It's going to be an even taller task. They know they don't have Jack Conklin, and J.C. Treader has been limited and missing practice this week. So without those tight ends as well in the run game, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So perhaps we see the Browns try to spread the Ravens out, go into 11 personnel, and run the ball that way. See if they can't force the Ravens to lighten in the box or take men out of the box, and see if they can counter that way out of 11 and out of shotguns, more shotgun runs.
Spencer Schultz from the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast and I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we will continue to talk Browns, Ravens. 8-6 Ravens coming into Cleveland. 6-6 Browns need one badly. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine. Too late at night. But feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Spencer Schultz from the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast and I continue talking Browns and Ravens. Spencer, we alluded to it and talked a little bit about Lamar Jackson's struggles in the last segment. But when you look at Lamar Jackson, and yeah, he hasn't played great, but he's also the reason that this team is 8-4. He's going to be 99.9% of the time he's the best player on the field. And the ball is in his hands every snap on offense. And he just makes some plays that the touchdown pass to Andrews, got hit on his hand, chased, broke tackles, and somehow finds a way to throw a 30-some yard touchdown pass. How do you balance that if you are designing an offense for the Ravens, really?
It's been super volatile from Lamar Jackson. He's been taking a ton of sacks, and like we talked about in the previous segment, he just is in his own head right now. He was holding the ball too long and taking too many sacks. So he started trying to get the ball out quicker and found the other edge of that sword to be interceptions in that Cleveland game. And he's still able to make those spectacular plays, but he's been late a lot. He's not trusting reads. He's not trusting open receivers. And like Sam Darnold saw against the Patriots a couple years ago, he's seen a little bit of ghosts. Lamar Jackson said himself that he's playing like a rookie in a press conference last week. And so to that, you need to call plays like he's playing like a rookie. And like I mentioned in the last segment, you really want to make sure that you're giving him ample protection, bringing guys in motion, using a wide receiver to go chip after coming in motion, and just making sure that you're teeing off on those edge rushers in Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, because Alejandro Villanueva and Tyree Phillips are outmanned, outgunned, and outclassed from a talent perspective, from a experience perspective, or not experience, from a athletic standpoint as well. So they're really down the creek without a paddle, so to speak. So they're going to need to do everything they can to aid those tackles, make Lamar Jackson confident that he's going to have time, and then he just needs to let it rip. He has to be the confident MVP caliber player that he is, and he's slumping right now. So you're going to have to help him get out of that slump, move the pocket a little bit, use some sprint outs and some max protection and things of that nature. And The Ravens also saw tempo really help them quite a few times this year, especially when they've been trailing and all these spectacular comebacks that they've made. Obviously, last week they lead a touchdown drive where Lamar Jackson marches the Ravens down the field and throws a touchdown, which could have been a game-tying touchdown. John Harbaugh goes for the throat and it ends up failing. So they need to mix in tempo as well and allow Lamar Jackson to play in rhythm and keep the defense running and see if he can't hurt them that way and force defenses into some blown coverages and see if Lamar Jackson can make plays. But right now, another aspect is there's not enough structure in the pass game. It's been well documented. Derek Clausen of Football Outsiders on footballoutsiders.com did an outstanding article which really highlights these option routes where guys like Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews are reading coverage and then trying to break that way, and they're not on the same page. So they end up running into each other too often, and there's not enough space. So ultimately, hasn't been successful. They need to have a more rigid structure in terms of which plays Greg Roman is calling. And I think that they need to kind of stick with some personnel groupings and let them have a series or have, 4 or 5 consecutive plays in order to establish that rhythm, because the offense has very little rhythm right now overall.
Who would you expect to be? I know Freeman has run some, Murray's run some. Who would you expect to be the main guy in the backfield with the Browns game coming up Sunday?
Devontae Freeman is the guy right now. He has forced at least 2 missed tackles in each of the last 3 games. Gonna go ahead and give myself a slap on the wrist, because this offseason, when the injuries occurred and then going into the regular season, they said they were bringing in Devontae Freeman. I was like, I don't know if that guy still has the juice. I think they might need to look elsewhere and make a trade. And he has proved me absolutely wrong. He has had insane jump cuts that have been scintillating to watch week after week. He's making guys miss in the hole. He's going back across the grain and creating for himself. He came up with a huge reception on 3rd down where he made 2 defenders miss, breaking a tackle, and gets the Ravens down into scoring position on an 18-yard play, spins the ball at the end of the play and flexes to the crowd. He is absolutely feeling himself, feels like he's found a nice rhythm. And then Latavius Murray's the big back. They're going to use him as a battering ram in those power situations. So that's the 1-2 punch that they have right now. They also have Nate McCrary activated from the practice squad, a guy that Denver poached in the offseason, for final cuts. They claimed him on waivers. He went to Denver. The Ravens got him back, and they activated him over Tyson Williams, who a lot of Ravens fans, including myself, are really excited for. So they have an explosive back in Nate McCrary, who got a couple snaps last week. He got 1 carry on an outside zone concept, and I think they're looking for him to be someone that can hit 5th and 6th gear and add a little bit of that missing juice that they don't have without J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards. They also are incorporating Devin Duvernay into the run game a little bit more, and Greg Roman has talked about that, so I would definitely watch out for that as well.
You mentioned tempo. Do you expect to see that in spurts, or is that something you think they come out and do? Is it better when they – I could understand completely how if you're playing up tempo, a guy like Lamar can really pick and choose what his spots, if you will.
Yeah, Lamar's battery never runs out. At the end of games, he seems just as fast as he is at the beginning, so his ability to make plays with his legs only grows stronger as games wear on, and if you can tire out a defensive front by going tempo and running the ball a little bit as well, get them start to have to stay on the field, you can get some of those bigger guys trapped in there, then tempo is definitely an option. I think that Lamar Jackson made some pretty clear-cut comments in his press conference this week, and he usually doesn't fault anything or anyone aside from himself, but I expect him to use tempo and see if Lamar can't find rhythm that way, and I think that that's something that we see on at least 3-4 drives before the end of the game, and if not at the end of the game, if that's what the situation dictates for. So the Ravens really need to find tempo, and I think they can do so by leaving guys on the football field right now, working on those alignments and personnel groupings, and then mixing in tempo, as well as going heavy with the fullbacks and the tight ends and trying to run the ball down the Browns' throat. So it's going to be interesting to watch, and I think that this tempo offense is something that the fans have wanted, that Lamar Jackson seems to want, and that Greg Roman has addressed as well. So it's going to be an interesting watch, and I think we will see a good bit of tempo on Sunday.
All right, before I let you go, just a gut feeling. Do you think the Ravens get this one? If they do, I think it pretty much puts the Browns out of the playoffs. I got a feeling the Browns are going to win this just because they seem to respond when, for lack of a better term, backs against the wall, and they really need it. And I think they need it much more than the Ravens at this point. Just your gut feeling from Baltimore's side of things.
Yeah, my gut feeling is the Ravens are going to win this one. I think that both teams kind of have their backs against the wall a little bit. The Browns need it, but based off of Myles Garrett's comments today that The Browns didn't have a great week, but they've got 48 hours to turn it around. And then looking at that injury report, if J.C. Tretter can't go, that's a huge loss considering Conklin's not there as well. And with the Ravens having Calais Campbell back, I think that could be a huge factor. So I think that injury report is going to dictate it. And I ultimately think the Ravens walk out in yet another nail-biter victorious and kind of stick a fork in the Browns season.
All right, Spencer Schultz, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Spencer.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too. Spencer Schultz from the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast. We'll see. Browns need this one Sunday at 1 o'clock. Browns-Ravens, Sunday, 1 o'clock, First Energy Stadium. That'll do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. We will see you again Monday at 4 o'clock. Dan Lobby, Browns beat reporter, scheduled guest. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you Monday at 4 o'clock here on Sports4CLE.